WNST, real football. And I love talking football with all my friends out in Cincinnati, Cleveland, even in Pittsburgh, in the rival divisions. We get together a couple times a year. But I see this guy at combines, in owners' meetings, in Super Bowls. He's one of our recurring guests here. And as much as we are going to talk Bengals with Jeff Hobson, the website editor for Bengals.com, it is the Boston Red Sox that are his passion. And Tony Canigliero's swollen left eye socket is his Twitter, where you can follow him at Jeff Hobson, C-I-N, that's Sin. Jeff Hobson, Sin. That's real nice, Jeff. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? It's always a pleasure to talk to someone named Aparicio, since Louis Aparicio is my favorite player after they traded Tony C.
Well, you know what? You always tell me that. And, I know of your love of baseball. We'll get to football in a minute. Just give me a little primer on the Red Sox and the Yankees. This is a fascinating pennant race because of this final wild card where we have 7 teams, and the Orioles are one of them, sort of banging around. But, hey, the Yankees look like they want to chase the Red Sox. This could be a really epic month of baseball throughout the American League East, I think.
Well, the Sox had a shot to put them away, and great series by the Yankees. And I've been out of it a little bit, of course, because it's been cut down day here and everything. But when you can't get one, when they need Sale now, they need Sale to pour it on now, and their everyday lineup, you can't beat it. Except they need they're missing Big Papi. I think people just kind of assumed, how do you replace 40 homers and 120 RBIs? The answer is you don't.
You don't do it with Mitch Moreland, that's for sure, right?
No. Nice player, but, it's not 40 jacks and 120 homers and 120 RBIs. So, they're going to have to piece it together until they get that big stick, Until then, this is the way it's going to be. They're going to be fighting for their lives. The Yankees are looking like they're going to be contenders for the next 5-6 years with what they get going, and it's too bad they can't put them away. I guess Price never really, if Price had panned out, with Price and Sale, that'd be tough to beat. You'd figure they'd be up by 10 games. But
well, it felt like in the offseason, they won the offseason, right? And everything we're going to talk about with the Bengals, with the Ravens, is going to be where they are right now, not where they were in free agency or on draft day, because there is no perfect. There is no. Same thing to say about the Red Sox. There is no Pablo Sandoval anymore, right? And for the Orioles, there really is no Chris Tillman to speak of, and they're still waiting on the Chris Davises. But, from an Oriole fan perspective, it is disheartening to see the load-up going on with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and knowing that the Orioles' term is getting near the end here for Jones, for Machado, for Buck, for Duquette, for everything that they've built here. Yeah. It feels like in a year and a half they could go back to being the Browns of baseball again,
Boy, I tell you, they get some great players, man. Jones and Machado are I know. I wish the Red Sox had done everything they could to get Machado. That would have been something, but they would have.
Oh, they're a year away. Next year they can get Machado, And I think in the offseason and going up to the trading deadline next year, they may listen. But I think that the owner would not deal a star player in the middle of the pen. He hasn't done it in 26 years of owning the team. I don't expect that to begin. All right, which moves us to you. Let's go to the Bengals here. You talk about one ownership, and obviously in Cincinnati, the organization traditionally has been run a different way. Marvin's been there for almost 15 years now. This is a mystery team, much like the Ravens are a mystery, because I don't know how that offensive line is going to hold up, and certainly you're playing without a couple of your best players on Sunday.
Yeah, this team is not the team. This is not the team that the Ravens are going to face in Baltimore on New Year's Eve. It's going to be a completely different team, because they'll have Burfict, they'll have Jones, and also the 15 guys that are playing their first NFL snap are going to have 15 games unrun. So, basically the Bengals, I think, are kind of they are a blank slate. Really. They've lost some veterans. Their offensive line is a question mark. I do think this, Nasty. I do think I think they're better than last year because they are younger and faster. I think the addition of Joe Mixon gives them automatically one of the best players in the division, and I think the pass rush is a lot better. So the question is, to me, if they can keep Dalton clean, and they'll find out in a hurry because T-Sizzle is looming.
Well, give me the offensive line, because we have the same problem here. And, obviously your quarterback has been upright and throwing footballs the last 6 weeks, where ours is completely a mystery. And, we're going to talk about it all week here. Could Joe Flacco go out there and be 25 of 36 and efficient and throw for 274? Yeah, he could, I guess, but I don't think anybody here is expecting that. I don't know how they're going to run the football. The one thing we know about the Ravens is that the defense has shown over the preseason this is going to be a very formidable defense. Now, I don't know that they're going to chase Steel Curtain or even chase the Purple Curtain of 2001 and how good of a team they can be. That remains to be seen, but I do feel like when our defense is on the field, that is our best half. Everybody here would tell you that, and they should be able to get after some of these question marks on your offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think Flacco has to be Flacco. I think he just has to stay. I think he has to manage the game with that defense. That's all That's all he has to do with that defense. He doesn't have to Trent Dilfer it, but be confident. Don't turn it over on the road. He's done that before. He can do that. He's a pro. He's won a Super Bowl. So I think it's exactly right. That's the matchup of the game. Is that great Baltimore defensive line against this revamped Bengals line, and if Joe doesn't turn it over, they got a hell of a shot.
What's to recommend this hobby? In your case with the Bengals, a lot of turnover there. A little bit was about money, Whitworth, and age. But letting that kind of leadership go is always difficult to do. We've turned the turnstile in a lot of players around here as well, and there comes a time and a place. But make a case for the starting five right now in some sort of positive light based on what you know and you've seen on the inside, Jeff.
Oh, I think it can be more than positive. You got to remember, these guys, the right tackle Fisher and the left tackle Obwehi were first-round prospects when they came out. They are top shelf athletically. Very good athletes. And the way they played in the preseason, they played a lot better than they played at the end of last year. They've improved dramatically. They're inconsistent. They're not Whitworth and Andre Smith in his prime. But I think they're good enough to win with. Obwehi, was if he hadn't been hurt, some folks thought he'd be a top 5 pick. Fisher, folks thought he was a first-round pick. The Bengals loved Fisher. They were disappointed when he came in to visit. They thought, well, hell, we won't have a shot to get him in the second round. They did. So, you got to go back in time a little bit and remember what you've got. Right guard's a question. No Zeitler. They got Trey Hopkins, a guy who's been here for 4 years, has played in one NFL game because of injuries and because he was sitting behind Zeitler. He's a question mark. Bodine has been there, the center. He's been there. He's battled Williams, so he's been down that path. To me, the X factor is Mixon. Mixon's the best offensive lineman they got, because what's the best way to nurse your new offensive line? To run the football. They've got three very good backs in Mixon, Hill, and Giovanni Bernard. And I think that's the best way to counter that Ravens defense, because you certainly, with this young line, you cannot sit there and throw it. So, I think to me it's that's the tough life. That's why it's a tough matchup for Cincinnati, because the Ravens are just so hard to run on.
He is Jeff Hobson. You can follow his journey out at Bengals.com. He is the website editor for the Bengals in long time. How many years have you been covering the Bengals inside and outside the organization? 25?
Yeah, that's about right. 1990 was
27.
Came here working for the Cincinnati Post, and I've been with the Bengals since 2000. So,
wow, you were one of the first newspaper guys to go inside the shop, right? 17 years. Wow.
I believe I was the first.
Wow. So, all right. So
that was a slow news year, because I had a couple of some national publications talked about that, of me going over to the other side. So it was a slow news year.
Well, now everybody works for the league or works for a team. And Hobby, of course, with his Red Sox affinity, but his Bengal gig and his Bengal gear as well. Talk about Andy Dalton. The one thing we have not had is our quarterback under center. And, we saw Tyrod Taylor, get hit on the head here and have a concussion a couple of weeks ago. You see the Edelman injury. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Flacco didn't run around out there in these preseason, fake football games. But now that the game is up upon us, It would be nice to have seen him take a shot on the blind side, which he has not done. And I think for all of us, the first time he goes down on Sunday, and I'm sure he will at some point, it's all about him getting up with back ailments, quite frankly, which, as you know, in any sport and any gig, not a good place to be for Flacco back in July and early August.
Well, all I know is he's dangerous. The last time we didn't know about Flacco, remember this was his first NFL start. And this is his first NFL start back in 2008.
Yep.
2008. His first NFL start, 2008, with Mike Zimmer. And it was Mike Zimmer's first game as a Bengals defensive coordinator. And you remember Flacco won the game. There was a screwed up a reverse, and Joe Flacco went 38 yards for a touchdown on a run. So that's the last time Joe Flacco was a question mark. So I'm worried about the guy. I think the guy's a winner. Physically, I don't know how he is, but I know he's going to be upright. I know he's going to give it his best shot. I do know this. He's had, to go by the numbers, Flacco's had a tough time against a Mike Zimmer, Paul Guenther defense, particularly against Guenther, since Guenther became the D coordinator. Joe's had to grind it here, especially in Paul Brown. He doesn't have a great track record here in the stadium.
And we're always coming in there, Christmas week. This is, sort of weird that we're beginning out there. I mean, we've played a September or 2 games out there over 20 years, but not many at all.
No. Well, the Bengals haven't had a home opener against anybody since 2009.
Really?
So
wow.
I remember in 2007 there was a great Paul Brown had a great opener. They were a Monday night opener with Baltimore. That great game where the Bengals won 27-20 with a goal line stand, which was as electric as this place has ever been.
That was a crazy night there. I do remember that.
That was Michael Myers. That was Michael Myers starring in a horror film. There was a tip pass on the goal line, and he picked it off, the Bengals defensive tackle. I remember Brian Billick just being incensed, but because there were a couple penalties on that drive. But, and that's the way it is, Nasty, whether it's September or it's December, whether they're out of it or they're in it, this series is just tight. I think out of the last 11 games, 8 of them have been decided by a touchdown or less. So, Flacco's back. Is he not back? Is his back bad? The Bengals offensive line, it's up in the air. I know this. It's going to come right down to the end.
Tell me about playing without a couple of the better defensive players and what that represents for this defense. I mean, we had years and games we played without the Ed Reeds and the Ray Lewises during our time. Lord knows if you had to say to me this week, we're going to play this game without Brandon Williams and without Mosley or without Weddle or without Jimmy Smith, which we did a lot of last year. And I know you guys have played a lot of games without Eifert and other players, key players as well. But the perfect and the Pac-Man thing, or Adam, I should say. He didn't like Pac-Man anymore. I will probably always call him Pac-Man because I remember when he used to make it rain. But the change over there still is a lot of Bengal blood there, and the Dunlops and the Atkinses and the Johnsons, the guys, the Kirkpatricks, the guys we're used to seeing, quite frankly.
Well, they've been the last 3 years. They've been used to playing without Burfict. I mean, that's been the tough thing about it. Remember, in 2013, he led the league in tackles and was a Pro Bowler. Since then, he's missed 22 games. So they've learned. They've had to play without him. They're 15-7 in the games without him, and clearly they're much better with him. Listen, this guy, he came back in terrific shape. He's finally healthy. He was dealing with that knee. That was a couple-year injury where he had microfracture knee surgery, and he's looked great. He's had a terrific preseason. So they need him in there. There's no question about it. But they've also, unfortunately, they've played without him, and I think it's tough not having Adam for a game. But he's missed some games too that they've won because that's the thing was what's different this time around is the corners behind him. The third and fourth corners are improving. William Jackson is making his first NFL appearance, and Darqueze Dennard has only had one NFL start. He's played some, but he's not really a proven guy either, even though it's his 4th year. So that's the difference I think in the secondary is those is the second tier of corners, very talented guys, first rounders, but it's just it's the first time they're going to be getting a lot of snaps.
He is our friend, Jeff Hobson. We call him Hobby. You can follow him at Jeff Hobson. That's GEOFFHOBSON, like Butch. And his other nickname is Butch, of course, and Sin, CIN for Cincinnati, Jeff Hobson Sin. Website editor at the Cincinnati Bengals and at Bengals.com in anticipation of our big matchup here this week. All right, so give me a little Marvin report here. I guess he's been rumored to be in and out 3 or 4 different times over all these years. He goes back as tenured as anyone this side of Bill Belichick now in the league. And, I hate to say make or break year. We've thought that about Harbaugh, and Bisciotti extended him out and keeping it together. But I have no idea how long Marvin's going to be there. But I do know that he's not hanging around there to collect papers. He wants to win a championship and believes that this young team, maybe over the next year, 2, 3 years, is capable of winning a championship.
Yeah, I don't think, they always say Marvin's on a hot seat. I don't buy that, Nasty. He's got a good relationship with the Brown family. The Brown family really appreciates what he's done here. They know that how much he's meant to the franchise, how he turned it around when they were, when it was clinically dead at the end of 2002. And so I think there's a good relationship there. I think if anything happens in my mind, I think it would be almost mutual. Where's Marvin in his career? Where's this team in his career? So I don't buy the fact that he's on the hot seat just because he doesn't have an extension. I mean, I just don't,
There's never not been a hot seat there for him, as I know it, right? Literally. That's like when people say, "Oh, well, what's it like there?" This is how we live. This is how it is. It's maybe the worst thing, is other than, I think Marvin will tell you, it's always a year-to-year thing in this league, if it blows up on you, and as it did on him at one point, right, when his quarterback got hurt, and he's out there playing with the quarterback's brother, right?
Hey, well, right. Hey, look, you can, they've wanted this guy's head for the last 3 years, and I don't understand it. 2014, he coached his ass off. He didn't have Eifert. He didn't have Marvin Jones. He didn't have A.J. Green for 5 games, and they won 10 games. 2015. He's got Pittsburgh beat in the playoffs with a backup quarterback. 2016, who the hell are they supposed to beat? He doesn't have A.J. Green. He doesn't have Giovanni Bernard. He's got Tyler Eifert for half the year. Come on now. I think the guy's, and I think he's done a great job. He and Duke Tobin have formed a great tandem at bringing people in here to play. And I tell you, I think they've had 2 really good drafts in 16 and 17, and I think Marvin knows that he's in a situation where he's got to, the owner is a patient guy, and, he understands where they are, and, that said, I guess if it got ugly, who the hell knows? But I
think they can win 10 games this year, though, right? Yeah, you agree with that?
They have 10, no question, they have 10 win talent, and if they don't win 10, how does the owner react to that? How does it come down? But I think they win. I think Marvin's, the beauty of it is, and this is what people, they call it being stale, but, I don't know. I think the consistency is what has made this work. People forget, okay, they didn't make the playoffs last year. They had made it 5 straight years. They've made it 6 of the last 8. You know how hard that is to do? Only 4 other teams have done that. And I think the major reason they've done it is because of the continuity with the coaching and the personnel.
He is Jeff Hobson, Bengals.com, the way to follow him. He's also watching the Red Sox from time to time. You can find him at Jeff Hobson, CIN. That's for Cincinnati, where we're going to be coming in on Sunday for the chili, the indigestion, and hopefully a really good football game. I mean, I think for all of these teams in hobby, I've talked so much this week about college football, Maryland and the big upset down in Texas, and nobody really knows what to make, I think, of either one of these teams. I mean, these 2 teams are a little bit mysterious, and probably the Ravens are as mysterious as any team because they have not had their quarterback walk on the field yet.
Yeah, nobody knows. You know what? It seems like to me that's the way it is, and you've been doing this a long time, Nasty. Every NFL opener, even if you've got a veteran team, there's always that cloud of mystery because you've always got just enough turnover, and your opponent is just gone through as much as you have, if not more. Nobody really knows, And Marvin was talking about that yesterday. And this is probably even raised because of all the young players they have. Nobody knows. I remember I went back. I'm doing a This Day in Bengals History. And every day we've been doing that because it's the 50th anniversary of the franchise. And, in fact, I think Sunday is going to be an extra special. You know, the Bengals always seem to be walking into somebody else's stadium whenever there's some kind of a ceremony. Well, finally
homecoming,
the Bengals,
right? Homecoming?
Yeah, homecoming. We're always the homecoming game. Well, we get the 50th anniversary. What they're going to do every home game is they're going to honor several players from the past at each home game. And the opener is, you got a pretty star-studded list with Kenny Anderson and Isaac Curtis and Kenny Riley, you know, the bellwethers of the franchise. The Thursday night game, Chad Johnson's coming in. So it's the start of a year-long thing. It's going to be a special day. So I've been doing that. I do it this day in Bengals history. And September 7th, 2003 was Marvin's debut as Bengals head coach. And he had terrific offseason, made great additions, you know, and crowd is sold out, games on TV, and everybody was up in the bit. Marvin's here, all our problems are solved. And they got beat 30-10 by the Broncos. And, you know, maybe you could see, and they didn't play well at all. And maybe you could see that coming, maybe not. But, you know, that's just, they ended up going 8-8 that year, the biggest turnaround. Marv was he was the runner-up to NFL Coach of the Year. John Kitna, who played lousy that day, ended up being comeback player of the year. So you just never know what you get in an opener. And the biggest thing is you can't panic. You know, you can't panic because I've just been going through a couple of these things. And, you know, there's been a couple seasons where they've won the division and they looked awful on opening day. So it's kind of a screwy deal in the opener.
Well, it's a weird week, too, because there are some great matchups. Not that Cincinnati and Baltimore is not one of them. These are two thought to be somewhere between 6 and 10 wins kind of teams, but there's some teams out there like Seattle and Green Bay, Oakland and Tennessee, Dallas and the Giants that all off season, it's all been about 11, 12, 13 wins, and three of those teams are going to wake up on Monday morning with their feelings hurt. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
No question. And then you know what happens? Everybody, you know, it's a fire. In that city, there's a 5-alarm fire, and that's the way the league is. I mean, it's been going on since George Hallis called everybody to the dealership.
Well, we'll all be I'll be 30 feet away from you in the press box in Cincinnati eating those hot dogs with the chili and the cheese all piled up there. And we'll all be like hating on the Steelers. I mean, we'll all be pulling for the Browns too. So,
and as usual, I'll be screaming about running the ball. But this is the one team I know that's hard to run the ball against. But they kind of laugh at me in the press box because I'm always screaming about running the ball. But hey, running the ball is like it's the answer to everything. It's the answer to every problem you may have. Your quarterback's been out for 6 weeks, got a bad back. Run the ball. Your defense is struggling a little bit, got a few players that aren't there. Run the ball. Your quarterback's been a little shaky early. Run the ball. Your offensive line's revamped. Run the ball.
Run the ball. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but you know what, though? Hard to run the ball against Baltimore. That's the thing.
Well, we're going to see you on Sunday. A pretty good matchup to start the season. It's always great to visit with you, Hobby. I wish you nothing but bad tidings on the Red Sox side. And, because of my love for Marvin, I will not be rooting for you this week, but I'll be a big fan when you're playing the Steelers and the Browns, all right?
Absolutely. All fair and love and war in the NFL, Nancy.
We'll see you in the Queen City on Sunday morning, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Save me some hot dogs. He is Jeff Hobson, one of the good ones. We call him Hobby or Butch or Butchie. You can find him out at Jeff Hobson, Sin, that's C-I-N, on Twitter, as well as at Bengals.com. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. We're going over to London in 2 weeks. On the Saturday before the game, the 23rd, we're going to be in East London in the Docklands area at the Fox at XL. Big-time British pub with the fish and chips and pints and all that good stuff. We're going to be taking the Emirates Air cable car across the Thames as a group to the O2 Arena and, basically do what we do. Go over and raise a little hell in London, have some fun, wear our purple, and represent, as we shall say. We're only 2 weeks out on that. Wow, this is fun. NFL season kicking off. Orioles in the pennant race. Terps looking good. Big stuff going on around here. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Thanks.